Today's guest is one of the fastest rising stars in comedy. He sells out tours all over the world. He hosts the hit podcast Mike and Vittorio's Guide to Parenting alongside former guest of the show Mike Rice, and look out for him on House of Games. In this episode, we get into anxiety, panic attacks, how being from Belfast has informed his comedy. This is the wonderful Vittorio Angelone, who you can catch on tour with his latest show, You Can't Say Nothing Anymore. Go and do that. But before you do that, enjoy this fantastic episode. Cheers. Vittorio.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I just want to start, I suppose, by asking you an awful question, which is, can you describe your act?
Yeah, I know this is the one you start with, and I know that it's awful. But it's good. It's good that you know it's awful. Because when people on bad radio shows ask you, they don't go, and I know this is a terrible question, they just go, like, tell us about what it is you do. What can people expect in Northampton?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, no, I know. Why do you think it's a terrible question? For those that don't understand that it's a terrible question, why is it a terrible question? And when you've answered that, then describe your act.
It's the furthest logical conclusion of explaining a joke. Do you know what I mean? Do you know the way when you have to explain why a joke's funny, it completely stops being funny? Like, it's just not a joke anymore. As soon as you start to interrogate, like, so what makes you funny? It just all falls apart at the seams, is what it feels like sometimes. Yes. I would say...
But luckily, I'm not saying, why are you funny?
No.
That would be absolutely horrendous. Do you want to give it a go?
Why am I funny?
You don't have to answer that. That's absolutely terrible. Everyone should have to answer that on Graham Norton.
Why are you funny?
They should sit down on BBC One and they say, why are you funny?
I love the idea of an interviewer that just doesn't get it. He's like, what's going on? I don't get it.
Why are you funny?
That's sort of my mum doesn't understand stand-up comedy she doesn't, there's not like she likes some comedians and doesn't like other comedians. She just doesn't understand why anyone's laughing ever.
Right.
At stand-up comedy.
Well, that's interesting that you then went on to do that.
She's so supportive and so great, but she sort of sits there in the comedy club like,
wow. Okay.
Don't know what's going on here, but seems to be working.
Wonderful. Maybe that's why she's supportive.
Yes. It seems like actual magic. If I were to describe my comedy or my act, I would say I think the stressor for me is that it very quickly sounds like I'm going to do some kind of like edgy free speech, blah, blah, blah. Because the words that come to mind are like, I like provocative stuff. I like to say the wrong thing. I like to say things that I don't mean to sort of, and like it's quite, there's friction. It can be slightly abrasive. I can turn the audience against me. I can lose them. I can get them back. But
close to the line.
Close to the line, but these are awful phrases. This is horrific.
They're awful phrases to say about yourself. I understand that.
But I like to think there's a warmth and a sort of cheekiness to it, a kind of tongue-in-cheek.
Okay.
A little glint in the eye that's like, I'm not saying, I would hate to think I'm ever being nasty.
Yeah, okay.
But I'll talk about topics that could upset people and do upset people sometimes.
And do you like, do you choose to do that? Do you choose, is that where you like kind of playing?
I don't know if it's a choice. I sort of had a bit about this at one point of like, I'm not in charge of the jokes that I write. I sit down, something pops into my head and I go, oh, I have to tell them now.
Okay. Right, yeah.
So
you're taking no responsibility.
It just comes and then I'd say it to the audience and if they laugh, I say it again.
It's in, yes.
And that's sort of it.
Okay.
And for some people that's about cupboards and for some people. And I did in my last show, I tried to write a joke about cupboards just to try.
And how did that go? As someone who is interested in things like cupboards.
I did a 3-minute bit about how cupboards are gay.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's just
tongue in cheek.
I'm not in charge. I don't feel like I'm in charge.
Why? Because
they've got a top and a bottom.
Yes.
Always getting people to pull on their knobs.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I always found it strange that cupboards had doors. Like, why are we ashamed of our cups?
I think this is about pajamas. Why are we keeping them under the pillow?
Who's keeping the pajamas under the pillow?
That's a classic move.
It's not a classic move in my household.
No Welsh household.
But I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know about the pajamas under the pillow.
People are ashamed of their gym jams.
I am telling you now, for the record, everyone watching and listening at home, I'm not ashamed of.
Are you a pajama man? People think I'm strange for wearing pajamas at all. There's a lot of men who are like, I just go to bed in my pants because I'm a man. All right.
You sleep in pajamas.
Except recently it's been too hot.
Maybe that's another podcast. Okay, going to bed. But right, so the act. Did we sum it up?
Yeah,
it was a warm.
I'm a provocative edgelord.
Yeah,
can't say anything anymore type guy.
Now, how close is that to the real you?
I think quite close. I think my aim from when I started comedy is to like get as close, as small a division between me off stage to me on stage as possible.
Yes.
Because then I think you're most at risk. And that's what I like about stand-up comedy is me being on the line. If it goes wrong, it's my fault.
Oh, you like the danger?
Yeah. Big time. Because I used to play in orchestras. And like there's... And when I've been in plays and stuff, it's like you could have a bad... Like in an orchestra, you can have a bad gig, but the show's still great. And you can have the best gig ever and the show's still bad. So it felt fairly inconsequential to the broader thing because there's 80 people on stage. And there's an excitement in that and a collaboration. But with stand-up, I love that it's like you live and die on your own terms.
Yes. That danger, were you kind of hooked on danger when you were a kid?
No, I was very anxious and nervous and terrified of everything.
Was there any, because you're kind of, the act, you could say, just by the fact that we're talking about, treading that line, and if you're doing it with warmth, there's something quite mischievous about that. You've got that glint in your eye. Were you naughty? What's the naughtiest thing you did?
I stole a spoon.
Sorry?
I stole a spoon.
You stole a spoon?
And I think that's the naughtiest thing I did.
What do you mean you stole a spoon?
We were on scout camp, like a scout expedition thing, and we were staying in this like cottage in the Mourne Mountains in County Down, and there was a cutlery drawer, and they had a spoon, but the top half of it was serrated. I think it was for hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen a spoon like that before, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever, so I stole it. And then I cried when I got home because I'd stolen a spoon.
Of guilt! Did you confess? In tears? Mummy!
I stole a spoon and I'm really sorry about it.
Did you get any naughtier as you got into teens?
No. Oh, the other naughty thing that I did, and I think this is very me, is myself and some friends, this was when I was 17, 18 years old. This girl was having a birthday party and it was at her house, her parents' house obviously at that time, but like around her house. It was quite a nice house, but it was just a very boring party. And me and my friends sort of just went, well, we're going to make this fun for ourselves. So we just started turning everything in her house upside down.
Right.
So like all the clocks, all the pictures, some furniture.
Upside down?
Upside down.
We'll just slowly start with the clock.
Just gradually. And like stuff you maybe wouldn't notice that much. And then just that stuff of like, I think it was maybe one of those parties where her parents were away and they didn't know that she was having a party. And I was like, we're going to catch her out with one of these things. She's not going to be able to turn everything the right way up. So they'll eventually figure out that they'll be like, why is that clock upside down? Did you have a party? And then it'll all be done. But there was other stuff, toaster in the microwave in the oven. Not on. Every time I tell this story, people assume that I've turned the oven on with a toaster and a microwave in it, which would be absolutely insane.
Yeah, I didn't assume that.
But it's just sort of the fun of like, oh, all these appliances fit into each other. Isn't that a laugh? And then it got quite artful at one point. We took all of the cutlery out and planted it in the garden.
Spoons.
God, not the spoons again. I put them all back. I put all of the spoons back.
Yeah.
But it was sort of this like art installation in their garden where it was like the metal was growing out of amongst the grass. It was quite a nice, like if you saw that at the Tate Modern, people would be like, that's very poignant.
Yes, yeah.
And then people like TP'd the garage, and I was like, oh, that's a good bit of fun. And then somebody
TP'd the garage?
Threw toilet paper over and draped it in rolls of toilet paper. So you hold on to one end and you throw it.
Oh, yeah.
And it just drapes over. It's very American, TP, that kind of phraseology.
I never heard of it. Right.
And but then someone set the toilet paper on fire, and that was a bridge too far for me.
That's too much.
I was into the mischief. I wasn't into the carnage.
Yes.
It's like, I was like, okay.
The line.
Stuff upside down is fine.
Yes.
Fire?
Yeah. Well, that's like that's you and the line again.
Yes.
I'll go up to the line. I'm not
Right
crossing
up.
the line.
I'll maybe push against the line a little bit, but I'm not.
Setting things on fire, guys.
What are we doing?
Hello, everyone. Sorry to stop the show. I have some quick news whilst I walk Mildred. We are going to be doing an episode of Class Clown in front of an audience. This is going to happen on July the 27th. We would love you to be there. I would love you to be there. That's Sunday. It's at Top Secret Comedy Club, which is in London. You can get tickets online. Top Secret, Sean Walsh, Class Clown. Google all of those things and come along. It'd be nice to see you there. I hope you're enjoying this episode, and remember to follow and subscribe and all of that malarkey. It really helps us over here, helps us do more episodes. So yeah, that's all. Okay, back to the episode. Lots of love. Take care. Goodbye. So very well behaved at school. Not a class clown.
Not a class clown. I would say I would bring in things. I wasn't very confident in my own sort of social abilities. So I would have little things that I thought would be like interesting. Maybe I didn't believe in myself enough. I would always have like a little, I don't know. Because I was an orchestral percussionist, I got like a triangle one year that was like quite a nice triangle. Yeah. And I like brought it into class.
Spoon, he got a triangle.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're seeing this is the truth of the man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought it'd be funny to like every so often just sort of play. I think the thing is that I was fascinated and like enamored with people who were the class clown. I thought they were amazing. Alex, Adrian, Aidan, these types of people. Like Adrian Glacken and Ryan Murray in maths class over the course of 45 minutes just gradually turned their whole desk. So it was 2 to a desk.
Brilliant.
180 degrees. And then by the end of the lesson, while facing the back of the class, Adrian put his hand up, facing the wrong way. And the teacher went, "Adrian, what are you doing?" And he went, while still facing the back of the room, "Miss, should we just face this way from now on?"
So at school, you're in that class and you're watching Adrian do that, who sounds fantastic, by the way. Was there a kind of, almost like, I wish I was them? If you're kind of insular...
Yeah.
And angst-ridden, there's a bit of you looking...
And then anytime I tried it, it just went... I just thought it was wrong.
Can you remember things you might have tried? Apart from stealing a spoon.
I had triangle under the desk. I thought it'd be very funny to like every so often just like ding and just like freak out the teacher.
That's quite funny, no?
Didn't really land. Didn't really land.
You've got to try these things a few times.
Yes, yeah, you got to work it out. You got to give it a chance. But I think the one way I was perceived to be, and this is still my fucking hang up of like perceived to be badly behaved in school, is this obsession with like justice and the right thing and whether things were fair or not. And there was one time where like a teacher for our A-level music class, we noticed that she just screenshotted like BBC GCSE bite-sized notes, and those were the worksheets we were getting. And somebody posted it online, and we were like, well, this is hilarious that we've just caught her in the act of doing this. And we were all like marched in front of her and everybody who liked the post on Facebook had to apologize to this music teacher, like one by one, and go into her class.
Did you like the post?
It was posted on my wall by somebody else. And then I remember a frustration with like the music teaching being like, okay, compose, like you need to do a composition, so just do a composition. And I sort of, but I always had like rationale because I was very sort of obsession with like the right thing. Googled the exam board's guidance of like what to do, and it was like you're supposed to teach them how to compose for 6 weeks and then start working on the composition.
You did that.
And I went into the teacher and said, oh, we haven't done like this bit. You've just sort of set us this task and we don't really know how to do it yet. It was my frustration with art in school. I don't know if this was your experience, where they were like, draw a picture or paint a picture. At no point in any art lesson in my whole school life were we ever taught anything about art, of like how to do it. Like there's different types of brush strokes, there's different types of materials, but they just went, draw this, and then the girls who were good at it did it for A-level.
Well, yes, that's a very good point. I went off. I was quite good at drawing when I was a kid, and then we did art GCSE, and you just had to learn about the artists. not what.
It's like doing a degree in drama rather than going to drama school.
Exactly, precisely.
Yeah.
Yes. And I went off it, and now I can't draw. Quite sad.
I
know. but that's for another time.
Yeah.
So
it was this justice thing, and I sort of went to the head of year because last time, because of the post on Facebook, she said, if you have an issue with one of the teachers, just come to me and we can speak about it. And then I went to her and she was like, why are you talking to me about this? And I was like, because this is what you said to do last time and it's not being done properly.
So you were disruptive if you felt that justice wasn't being...
Yeah, I was bothersome.
And
yeah.
things weren't being done properly, you would speak up. It's quite...
It's just fairness, an obsession with fairness.
And how old are we talking here?
15.
So you're in secondary school.
Yeah.
Something's not fair, and you're going to kick off about
it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not right. This is as with every story that I tell nowadays, because I'm going through this process in a minute, it's all just symptoms of autism.
You're going at this, maybe we should know this. You're going through this process.
I've been on the NHS waiting list for a little while, contacted my GP and all that stuff. And then on my last tour, I spoke about it on stage, spoke about the prospect of having autism and beginning this process. And it turns out that loads of people with autism had been coming to the tour shows. And up until that point, didn't realize why they liked my stuff so much.
Okay.
But when I started talking about it, they went, oh.
Okay.
And then in the merch desk, they were like lots and lots and lots of them. And then the other thing was lots of autism practitioners and specialists were also at the shows by chance. And one of them very kindly, actually, and maybe about 6 of them offered to take me through the assessment process privately for free. Because it should be about $3,000. So I'm going through it right now. I've had my first assessment. And then I had to do a questionnaire, my girlfriend had to do a questionnaire, and my mum had to do a questionnaire. And both my girlfriend and my mum said, can you let them know that we do like you?
Okay, so this is a kind of cliffhanger. We're going to find out.
I'm on appointment 1 of 4.
Do you mind if in maybe you're on, 1 of 4, in some later episodes when we find out, I kind of announce that?
Yes.
Just so all the audience know.
Absolutely. When Roisin Connolly sat here, you go, by the way, Vittorio has autism.
Yes, exactly.
And you go, who's Vittorio?
Yes. Okay, right. So you were well behaved, but you could be disruptive. Would the teachers have seen you as disruptive?
Yeah, they were just like, why are you making a fuss out of this? I think also because I was quite academically bright, so there was no real need for me to be making this fuss. I didn't have to try that hard to do like decently in exams. But I just, I think it's important that people do their jobs. I think this is why I didn't. So I was like in all the music groups in school and all the sports, captain of the Gaelic team, captain of the rugby team. So on paper, it's like you were like king of secondary school. No, panic attacks, anxiety, very insular, very strange. Just happened to be good at all these extracurriculars. And I sort of thought, I'm going to apply to be head boy because... I'm doing all the...
to be head boy.
I was like, I couldn't possibly be representing the school on more levels than all of the music. There wasn't an extracurricular that I wasn't doing.
Yeah.
And then there was a thing in the application where it said, what's something you would change about the school? And I said, teaching standards need to be more closely monitored. And
Right.
And everybody else had written like
cool dude.
Everybody else had written like more recycling bins.
Yeah.
So I didn't even get an interview to go through to sort of the voting bit of it.
No.
Because in hindsight, of course, because it's the teachers who decide that bit. I was just like, there should be a way for us to feed back that the teachers aren't doing their jobs properly.
That's wonderful. All right. Okay. So understood. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you the Aristotle quote. I think you know the quote.
Mm-hmm.
Aristotle says, give me a child until the age of 7 and I will show you the foundations of the man. So we're going to rewind a little bit because we just heard about you being 15. 7 years of age, does Aristotle see where Vittorio's going in life?
I don't think so. So 7 years of age. 7 years of age, actually, I'm okay. Probably quite quiet.
Into justice?
Child, I'd say so, yeah. Big justice boy. And then it's funny, I think pre-7 you only see yourself, like you don't remember that much from before then.
No.
I don't know if that's the case of everybody.
No,
but
do you?
I don't remember lots, but I remember recently watching a home video from back then that was horrifying to see. It was my brothers and my cousins. Yeah. We'd all been given like lights.
Brothers, sorry.
2 brothers, one older, one younger.
Okay, yeah. All right.
And we'd all been given knockoff lightsabers by my uncle, who got like fake lightsabers because we all liked Star Wars very much.
Yeah, lightsabers.
And the home video is happening, and they're all sprinting around the garden, sort of like fighting, and then it pans around in quite like a sitcom way, and it's just me facing the corner of a room, looking at the lightsaber, and my mum goes, "You okay, Vittorio?" And I go, "You okay, Vittorio?"
Oh, God. Very sweet.
Yeah, just very in my world. Well, and then 8, 9 years old, that's when the sort of anxiety and the panic attacks start.
Okay, well, before we talk about that, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course.
I just, like, at 7, that's interesting to me, if you don't mind me spouting my thoughts here, is that the fact that you're facing the other way, the fact that something is going on and you're on your own. I mean, it's almost the dynamic of, stand-up comedy.
This is what my granny says.
You've gone away and
my granny says I was just always watching. I was just watching intently what everyone else was doing.
Well, there you go. And like you said about, it's really interesting to me, and I unfortunately can't quote this man, but the book Sick in the Head. Mm-hmm. You did the Judd Apatow book?
I know
there's a
of
Judd
it.
Apatow book where
to me that's a kneecap song.
Okay,
called "Sick in the Head."
What? Oh, right, yeah. He just collects some discussions he's had with comedians.
Yeah,
what it is to be a comedian, basically. Yeah. And I'm so sorry, I can't remember who it is, but he's asked, was he the class clown? And he says no, but I studied the class clown.
Yeah,
and that sounds very much like what you did, and it's what came to mind when you were describing that. And then you said that your nan would say that you were just watching. So there is, even I would just, say, there's something there already from what you've just told me.
Yes, and my mum always had a notion when we would ask, like, "Oh, Mum, what do you think we'll do? What do you think Daria will do? What do you think Alessandra will do? What do you think I'll do? Like when we grow up?"
Yeah.
And my mum was always like, "I think you'll be like some kind of TV presenter or like host of something," which like to me is like, why on earth would you think that that's going to happen? But like pretty close.
Do you know? Very close. And that could very much happen.
Yeah.
You can still absolutely get that.
Well, she just said I was interested in lots of things and could talk to lots of different types of people when I was interested in them, type thing.
Were you big into watching television as a child?
Yes, quite a bit. And then the earliest, and this is so appropriate for this podcast, when I was 10, I got cast in the primary school play.
Here we go.
As the jester.
As the jester. Okay. So Aristotle, maybe, if he didn't get it at 7.
10.
Give him 3 more years. I think we've all got it.
Yeah. So it was me and my friend James. It was that pantomime role of, the comedian's role in the pantomime.
Yes, buttons or something.
Yeah. Yes. And it depends on ours was Fix It and Mend It, were the two sort of jesters in this Sleeping Beauty version of whatever it was. And it was sort of a pantomime. And we would come out and just do like jokes and stuff in the script and everything. And I remember going home after I'd got the part and watching Billy Connolly, Peter Kay, Lee Evans and Chris Rock and sitting at the TV and making notes on how they were being funny.
What?
And how I could be funny like they were being funny.
I mean, I'm going to have to ask you this. Can you remember any of those notes? And I forgive you if you don't.
I remember endlessly doing the slow motion Peter Kay when the biscuit breaks off into your cup of tea. No, I've dropped me biscuit in me brew. And then the hobnob. Don't me again. Don't me again.
Yes.
All that mad stuff. I loved Peter Kay. Live at the Bolton Albert Halls. Unbelievable DVD.
I have a very I kind of mirror that myself quite a bit, but with Lee Evans, and the same around the same age. But
I remember the Lee Evans joke about when somebody's farted into a plane seat, the seat on the plane, and then you get on, and when you sit down, it comes out of the chair, and you're like, I didn't even feel it. I didn't even feel it come out.
Yeah. I know lots of his plane stuff. About the anyway,
we could go on.
So yes, we could go on. But okay, what you got cast as the jester, but from the impression you've given me, you're this anxious, quiet child.
Yeah. So
how's that happen?
In the penultimate year?
It sounds like a terrible casting agent.
Yeah, but I could sort of perform.
Really good one, actually,
I've never had performance anxiety. Really, I don't really get nervous before performing on stage. It's everything else.
It's the real world.
It's everything else. I'm anxious all the time, and then I go on stage and I can relax for 60 minutes, and then I
think of everyone I've spoken to so far, I would say, from everything you've said, this is the most I have in common with.
You can just relax.
All your answers.
You just, thank God. Thank God they're all going to shut up, and I get...
All right, I'd like to rescind what I just said. I don't have that bit. So hang on. You're anxious.
So 10 years old. I'm taking like months off of school.
What?
With panic attacks, and I'm sat in.
Victoria, that's so young, my friend.
I'm sat in a different room doing worksheets while everybody else is like in the lesson, and I have to go in through a different entrance to the school. I can't deal with the sort of crowd of the whole school walking in through the front door, so I have to go in through the back door and then sit in this separate room and work away, and I would just have meltdowns and leave and run away. I punched my primary school principal because I was trying to run home.
You punched your primary school principal?
Yeah.
So when I said, Vittorio...
That's not naughty though, she was trying to stop me from running away, and I was like, take that, Mrs. McCacken.
No, okay. So that's quite naughty. I'd say punching.
But it's not like
your headmaster is quite naughty.
It's not mischievous.
No.
It was a blind panic,
I would say it's against the rules.
Technically, it is against the rules to punch your principal.
Right? Do we know what that was about? If you don't mind me asking.
So I went away to like a residential music course when I was about 9, and that's the first time I had real sort of separation anxiety, panic attacks about being away
from home.
I'm away from like my mum and dad. Right. So that was probably 9 years old, and then that bled into school at 9 years old. The only other thing I remember is my first day of primary school, really not wanting to go, but I think that's very common.
Yeah. The panic attacks. When did they kind of come to an end?
So,
or how did you at least how did you deal with it?
What was my mum really threw the kitchen sink at it. And I've only started asking her about it recently in hindsight and be like, what was it like to have such an anxious child? So we went to the hospital essentially for therapy weekly. A lovely lady called Shirley, who was from Derry, and she was a Liverpool fan.
Big shout out to Shirley.
Shout out to Shirley. It'd be great to chat to Shirley again. I'm sort of fascinated to see what my medical like records look like, because when you're a child in therapy, you're spoken to in very sanitized language.
Yeah.
They would refer to what I now see as panic attacks or anxiety attacks. They would go, and what does it feel like when you have a wobble?
Yeah.
And what does it feel like when you have this, that, and the other? So I don't know.
I'd like them to bring back the
wobble. Yes, yeah.
Bring a lot more comforting.
So did that, but then also was doing like, my mum took me to art therapy, where they would just give you a different like medium every time, and you would just draw, or you'd mold clay or do whatever and just try and represent your feelings or your thoughts or whatever. And then
did you like that?
No, not at all. Like, it was just like,
I'm surprised actually. Sorry, I thought you would have done.
I was sort of just being like wheeled around.
I
was just being wheeled around places, and it was just like, something's not working. I remember being very angry every time we went to the hospital, because there's a sign that says the Royal Victoria Hospital for sick children, and I kept saying to my mum, I'm not sick, because my understanding of sick was, sick.
Yeah.
But I just think, I'm not sick. Why am I here? I'm not sick. I'm just terrified all the time.
Yeah, of course.
And she took me to crystal therapy. This woman like waved like crystals on all my chakras, waving the things around.
Any good?
No. But it's just, and then like we had like hypnotherapy tapes and like soothing music and this. I think it was just
Nothing working.
Very emblematic of my mum just going like, we've got to try and help this boy. She just had no idea what to do. No, yeah. And she said to me recently, she said like, is there anything we could have done better? And we both kind of cried. I was like, no, it was just awful, but you were just trying your best.
Yeah.
And there's no right way to deal with this.
And certainly, how long ago is this?
That was when I was 9 and 10 years old.
Yeah, so
that's
like
20 years ago. Exactly 20 years ago now.
The awareness of what you're talking about is so much larger than it was then.
And now, like in hindsight, I'm like, God, because you sort of think of people like Fern Brady or Pierre Novelli who talk about their later in life autism diagnosis, and they go, oh, well, it just wasn't really in the thing that time. And of course, nobody spotted it. But I sort of go like, oh, I was in hospital, like, you know, talking to professionals about mental health.
Yeah.
And I mean, there could well be a note in some folder in the hospital in Belfast that just says he probably has autism and never got really whatever. But if I do get diagnosed, I don't want to like preempt it or anything. Yeah, I was just like,
out of the notepad.
It was just like, come on. Like if that feels fairly, like looking back, I'm like, that would explain a lot of that sort of anxiety and panic.
But did they just subside over time?
No, I just learned to deal with it. I still get them.
Yeah.
Every so often I get so anxious and scared that I have to like put my hands over my eyes because anything outside of my head is terrifying to me. And somebody asked me to explain it recently. I think I finally found the explanation of the feeling of when I'm sort of like covering my eyes and terrified to open them. Is it's like, imagine you've fallen onto the train tracks and you see the train coming down the tunnel.
Yeah.
That's the feeling. But there's no train.
Yes.
It's just complete fuck. And I don't know, and you don't know why that is, but I can catch them very early now and I can sort of dismantle them a little bit. And I think I got very good at that, almost too good at that, where I'm working on being less emotionally detached. But to me, being emotional is very scary.
Yeah.
Because I know the bottom end of that cliff of me completely losing control of my emotions and my anxiety. So I'm quite cold and maybe clinical sometimes and less emotional than I have been. And it takes me a very long time to access my emotions, but I'd sort of rather that than be at the coalface of it again.
Yeah, it sounds like you've done very well up to this point to kind of understand yourself and understand what you are comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with and the amount of control that you need. I think you've done a remarkable job on. I mean, obviously your parents did a lot to help you, and in particular your mum. But it sounds like you've done an amazing job on your own to get to this point. So how did you get cast as the jester? What happened?
It was just part of the thing. It was like you get up.
Did you have to audition?
Yeah, you get up and you sing a song.
And you've got no this child who he has to go into for a different entrance into school. It's like, oh, but you want me to audition as a jester?
It's all certain contexts. Like anytime we were doing like PE, I was absolutely fine. And I remember the vice principal of the primary school being like, well, you're fine when you're playing basketball. And it's like, well, yeah. It's like a thing and we're all doing it. And there's no, I don't know what the difference. It feels fairly obvious, but hard to describe what the difference between sitting in a classroom and playing basketball is. But one of them caused me loads of anxiety and one of them didn't. And I don't really know why that is.
Okay, fine. And how did the play go?
Really well, I think. Terrible jokes. I remember a couple of them. What do you get when you cross a lawnmower with a budgie? Shredded tweet.
You wrote that?
No, it was in the thing.
Okay, all right. Yeah. They got a laugh.
I mean, it's a 9-year-old on stage in full like clown makeup and the whole thing.
Yes.
Going like shredded tweet, and obviously all the parents are like, oh.
It's lovely.
It's lovely.
You're not underplaying it. It's really nice. So do you think at 10, at the age of 10 and being the jester, did that give you was that the kind of bite? It made you think, hang on a second.
Tiny bit, but no awareness of like that you could actually do stand-up comedy as a thing.
So when you're watching Peter Kay, you're watching...
He's an alien.
Rock.
They're aliens.
They're aliens.
There's no way from me to there. That like, how do you connect those together?
It's very strange, this.
They arrive and they just talk and then they go back to space or something. Like
well, it was a very different time, wasn't it? To go off track slightly, is that I used to call it, when you're talking about the aliens, when I used to go to the comedy club on my own, I used to call it the cupboard effect. I don't know why. These people would come out of, it was a curtain, it made no sense that it was a cupboard. They would come out this curtain, they would come out. And I always felt like they'd been locked in a cupboard.
They were just there the whole time.
They'd been locked in a cupboard, and there was a kind of crack in the door of this cupboard, and they were watching the world through the crack in the door.
Yeah.
And then the cupboard gets brought into a comedy club, and they open the cupboard, and the comedian comes out of the curtain, and for 20 minutes kind of tells you what they've been thinking about
and shows
themselves and the world.
And shows you goes like, you're all mad.
Yeah, totally.
You're all mad. Totally. I've been looking at you through the keyhole in the cupboard. Exactly. You're lunatics. Yeah. But that's that kind
precisely that. And then goes back in the cupboard and go away. And the magic for me, was that you never saw them either side of that. The only place that you could see them was the stage. And of course, that's a very different time as we sit here.
That's completely evaporated now.
And that magic is completely gone. Yeah. And you kind of know everything about everyone. And here we are, talking about your childhood. And
I think even though I've never had it, I mourn the loss of the mystery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just think, wouldn't it be great to just... Because I like my shows to be like, this is where I'm at this year or whatever it is. This is what I think about what I've gone through in the past year or whatever it is. And you'd love to just formulate that, and you go, bang, there's what's happened to me. That's what I think about it in this perfectly formed thing that you've really crafted together.
Yes.
And then that's the only thing people get of you.
Yes.
And I'm very jealous of an imagined idea of a comedian that still gets to do that. There's a couple that still get to do it.
Yeah.
But
absolutely. But so did you enjoy making people laugh?
I think so, but again, I think it's more so I was like enamored by people that could make people laugh. Yeah. I don't even have a big memory of making lots of people laugh when I was young. I remember seeing other people do it and just thinking, wow.
And when you started watching Peter Kay and Billy Connolly, did you then become a stand-up comedy fan?
Yeah, sort of moving into my teens. I was watching all Live at the Apollo.
Oh, okay.
I was getting into comedy when you were doing all the TV shows.
Okay,
and I remember
2010s kind of thing. I think.
Yes, so
2012 or something.
That would have been 2010. I would have been 14 years old in secondary school. Watching all this stuff, and I remember like quoting Paul Chowdhury bits to my mate and like doing that, dive in the bird.
Yeah.
That, and just like knowing all these comedians. And Russell Howard's Good News was great because you saw all these mad different people. I remember being obsessed with Reggie Watts for a bit, and like all these, and being very excited that I knew a comedian that other people didn't know.
Yes.
I mean, like, oh, you got to check out this guy. You haven't seen him, but this YouTube video, he's so good.
Why do you think it spoke to you more so than the other kids that you're telling it about?
They could talk to each other, I think.
Yeah.
I wasn't in any of the little groups of people. That was the truth of me doing all the music and all the sport, is that I wasn't solidly in any of those groups. Everyone's experience is just their own experience.
Absolutely.
So I don't know what it was. Maybe to me, I was like, maybe everybody feels like this, that they don't fit into any group or they don't really have any friends. But I feel like the first time I remember having a solid friendship group was when I was 17.
Okay.
Katie, Rory, Connell, James, and me.
Yeah.
And I'm still close with most of them. And that was like, I remember, it was like the first time I'd been able to do a WhatsApp group. Or like a group chat of any. I wasn't on MSN. I was very late to Facebook. Didn't have Bebo. Didn't have MySpace. Never did any of that stuff. I felt very locked out of all that. Probably I didn't do it.
So were you using, if you don't mind me putting this to you, were you using comedy jokes, maybe attempting now to, you're quoting comedians. You're trying to make by quoting the comedian. Essentially, you're trying to make them laugh with the other comedians with the bit that you've seen.
Well, I guess maybe an element of just trying to get in
that's what I mean.
Something I felt very locked out of.
And connect.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're quite isolated. You don't know quite how to connect with people. And then suddenly there are these comedians. Their job is connecting with people, making them laugh, and then you go, oh, maybe that if I do that, then I'll make a kind of connection with someone.
And every interaction I have, or like small talk thing, I'm guilty of it being very like rehearsed by me, of like what to say in certain scenarios, and sometimes it sounds rehearsed and people think I'm being disingenuous, but I just don't know what to say. So I practice it. I know I have just lots of little scripts in my head.
Wow.
And this is like huge autism signifiers.
Yeah, I think we all know how that text is going to
yeah. But I never know what to say. And then even I always feel bad. I think I've started to feel bad now when a topic of conversation comes up and I have a bit that I've been working on about it, even if I've never done it on stage.
Yeah.
I always feel obliged, and I don't know how you feel about it, I always feel obliged to go, oh, I've been working on this bit about that, and then do the bit, rather than just go, I have a funny thought about that, here's my funny thought. Since starting stand-up comedy, I think anytime you say something funny, your mates go, is that going to be one of your... Did you write that? Because that's not allowed. You're not allowed to write things. We're just talking.
I know, yes, it's an awkward place in a conversation. But I'm interested in the music, because obviously you mentioned the music quite a lot, but I didn't ask you about it. When did that start? Because you don't use music in your act now.
No, I am a little bit in the news show that's coming up, and I'm very excited about it. But it's sort of a surprise. But it's like it's in.
So
a
with
bit more.
The music, I'm wondering, did you use it to? Not did you use it? Sorry, but were you performing in front of people?
Yeah.
So there's just never been a problem with you in front of audiences.
I remember when I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, again, in and amongst all this anxiety stuff, there was like a culture day at school where people would get up and do little performances. Yeah. And I got up and I played like an old, I think it's an old, like, actually in hindsight, slave song from America called John Brown's Body.
Okay.
But it was on like the grade 2 glockenspiel course. So I got up with my glockenspiel in front of 400 kids.
Yeah.
And parents and stuff, and played John Brown's Body, but it's also the tune of the football chant, we're not Brazil, we're Northern Ireland.
Right.
We're not Brazil, we're Northern Ireland. We're not Brazil, we're Northern Ireland. So when I started playing this, there was like 400 people singing along to me playing glockenspiel.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was amazing. Wow. So I was always fine with that.
I mean, already, how old were you then?
9 maybe.
You're playing to audiences that even some professional comedians will never get to play to that many people when you were 9.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. That's very very interesting. Was there any bit where you fantasized about being a kind of, let's say, a star? Because at no point yet in our discussion about, we've gone up to, I'd say, you mentioned being in WhatsApp groups at 17. At no point yet is there this seed in your mind, it seems, of, well, maybe I could be a comedian. And then I always wonder, if you've had the thought of, maybe I could be a comedian, have you had the thought of, well, I could be a star?
I haven't had the thought of, maybe I could be a comedian. I know when that happened, that was about 17, 18 years old, maybe 19 years old, going to Lavery's Comedy Club in Belfast. Right. And seeing Colin Geddes, Aaron McCann, Shane Todd, Dave Elliott, Kieran Bartlett, Mickey Bartlett, all these people, and they were there.
Yeah.
And I would listen to Colin's podcast, the General Banter podcast, when I was living in London. Anytime I was home, I would go to Lavery's on a Wednesday, second and fourth Wednesday of the month, and it was only tickets on the door, and there was a queue down the street every single fortnight for it. And I remember I was always like first in the queue.
Yes.
17, 18 years old. And I remember the first time I just like bumped into Colin in like the bathroom at Lavery's. I was like, oh, your class. And he's like, thanks, man. And I think maybe that was the moment where I went, oh, that's just a guy.
I hope he's not listening. You're just a guy.
But like he's just the person.
Just a person.
I was like, you just went for a piss.
Yeah.
I go for pisses.
Yes.
So that was the moment it felt tangible, because that was the moment that it wasn't on TV.
But hang on, tangible is But tangible is one thing. Fantasy allows you to not think, in terms of what is tangible. There's no point at which you're fantasizing about doing that you could.
It's
in your
never
mind,
been
you're
the
playing
star
out, you could be Peter
thing.
Kay
It's never been the star thing. It's still not the star thing. People think I'm unbelievably driven, but I'm not aiming towards anything. I don't have that thing.
People think you're unbelievably driven. But
I think I work harder than lots of comedians. That's weird to say.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I was quite a lazy classical musician. And even the laziest classical musician is quite a hard-working comedian.
You're right. So do you think that's... Well, there you go.
It's that work ethic from that. Of like 6 hours a day, you're practicing, doing the thing.
So that's really helped you.
Yeah, massively. Of like this guilt of like I should be working 6 hours a day crafting the thing that I need to go and do. Or like working towards.
And have you taken that into the way you work now? And
for sure, it's not as diligent as sort of 6 hours a day, but it's like I sort of, part of me is a bit like, what are some of these comedians doing in the daytime? They're like, I don't have time to subtitle. What? It does it for you. It doesn't for my accent, but all these English comedians, apps do that for you. I have to type it in.
Right.
So it was never a star thing. And then 19/20, I just was going to Lavery's when I was back in Belfast, and then Angel Comedy Club in London because it was free.
I just watch it.
And I could just go and I could just watch. I remember seeing Lauren Pattison. I remember seeing like Shoot from the Hip, James O'D, all these mad different people. And then another moment where it became tangible is a few years above me, at the same university, Guildhall, studying percussion, which is what I was studying, who just graduated but who was doing a master's, was Sam Wilson, who was the percussionist for A Band the Man.
Right.
So he was sort of on the comedy circuit with Rob being A Band the Man. And A Band the Man, for people who don't know, is like a freestyle rap comedy thing that is just 20,000 times better than you think it is from how I've described it.
Yeah. But he was he was on the circuit. He was on the comedy circuit, and then he became a kind of, I think he tours all around the world.
Yeah, just amazing.
Yeah.
And
lovely man.
Because Sam played with him, I had this thing of like, oh, like I know someone who knows someone. And then a friend of mine was also doing open mics, and I was like, well, I started working for the Students' Union, and I was like, let's put on a comedy night for the next Freshers Week, and I'll host it. So I just emceed. It was my first gig to 300 people.
What?
Yeah.
And knowing you, from everything that you've said today, that didn't faze you at all.
Naivety, ignorance.
Mate,
no idea it was supposed to be hard.
But I mean, that's incredible because me starting it sounds very similar to your experience, believe it or not. And I knew what standing in front of 300 people was. That would have absolutely terrified me. From my
maybe there was a little, but like I just didn't know it was supposed to be difficult. I didn't have any material. I had like 2 ideas of things I was going to talk about, and then I just chatted to people because I'd seen people host.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you just chat. You ask them what they do and be funny. And
so you kind of fell into it.
Yeah, so I did that, and then I did that monthly for about a year, but just during term time. So maybe 9 times in the first year, I hosted a gig at the Students' Union with varying attendances. And I would just go to Funny Feckers, which is an open mic night in Camden.
Yes,
so we had budget for the Freshers Week one. Yeah,
is an open mic night.
Yeah. We had the Freshers Week, we had a budget. So it was, Josh James did it, because I'd seen him win King Gong. So I just messaged him on Facebook and said, do you want to come do this gig? And A Band the Man closed.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the year we didn't really have a budget, or as much of a budget, so I just went to Funny Feckers, open mic night, everybody doing 5 minutes. Didn't know at the time it was like a bringer. I didn't really know what that meant. But I give a bunch of comedians.
A bringer, for people that don't know, a bringer is where to get on the comedy night, you have to bring audience members.
Yes. 10 in London it tends to be just 1, but I believe in New York it can be like you need to bring 5 people.
Okay.
And people go, God, like I remember when we were doing bringers, and I think it's funny on some level that when you tour, you're back to doing bringers. We're like, to do the gig, you have to bring 150 people.
Right, yeah.
Like, you know, it all just, like, it felt very full circle.
Okay.
I was like, you have to convince 150 people to come watch the show, essentially, otherwise you can't do it.
Yeah.
And so I would just go see people do 5 minutes and be like, oh, hey, do you want to come do 10 minutes? I gave a bunch of comedians the first, like, paid slots. Okay. Because I didn't know that they weren't doing paid work yet. I was like, you were funny for 5 minutes. I was like, just do 10 and I'll pay you. Right. And I'll host and come do it.
You started doing it and you weren't fazed by this. If you, after our chat today, do you think could you look back and see how your childhood in particular, or your youth, I mean, you're still very young, so it's a slightly awkward question perhaps, but, you know, from what your youth in terms of primary school, secondary school, can you see how that has influenced the person I'm sat opposite today?
I think in a way, this like lack of conforming, and not deliberately, to like the social groups and the social norms.
Well, the social norms, let me give everyone a peek behind the wizard's curtain, that in Vittorio's mug is not a tea or a coffee, but a Coca-Cola Zero.
I sip it like a coffee, you know, like I take in air with it as if it's hot.
And this blew my mind. We are recording, I mean, it's 10 past 11 now. We started chatting about 10 a.m. You arrived. Yeah. You're having a Coke Zero at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
It's completely blown my mind. And you have kind of no respect for the way, tradition.
No.
No.
It doesn't make, like, what's the fucking point? Like, if it doesn't still make sense, why are we still doing it?
Yeah, and you seem to kind of work by your own logic.
Absolutely.
And you really like that as a child?
Yes, I think so. I was like, I can figure it out my way of doing it. And I think...
Your way of doing it, you see, straight away, the way that the business is today, the comedy industry, is solely about your way of doing it. It's not about someone else deciding they're going to choose you for their thing or miscast you or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You are getting every version of yourself. It's up to you. You're going to do the clips. You're going to put your show on YouTube. You're going to come up with essentially your own TV show if you want and make it. You do your podcast with Mike Rice.
Yeah.
It's the way Vittorio wants to do it.
And it's logic and fear. Those are my two driving forces, because I'd seen comedians. I think the inspiration a lot comes from Belfast, that scene, because Belfast was entirely ignored by TV for a long time. So they, like, out of necessity, had to build their own world and their own circuit that they could play on. And now they're all doing the arena. And it's like unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the fear was, I'd seen people.
Fear, you've not mentioned fear yet.
The fear was that I'd seen people do all of the TV stuff and get all the gatekeeper stuff and come out the other end with fuck all.
All right, mate, leave it out. No need to have a dig at me. I've got you on the show. What? Why is this turned
You're not the example, but you know what I mean? Where they go, you have the good, and in hindsight now, it's like, right, they had a good Edinburgh Fringe, they did all the panels, it didn't quite stick, and they got a big tax bill and back to square one next year.
Okay, I don't know why we're having to bring me into this. It really hurts.
But in my mind, it's stuck for, like, you.
No, it's all right. But I know what you mean. I mean, what it seems you get to do now is you get to build your own audience, and then you can keep them there by the fact that they follow you.
Yeah.
But you're saying you have a fear, which you hadn't mentioned. Obviously, there is the anxiety and the panic attacks from when you're a child, but this fear of what? A fear of losing what you've built?
Well, no, just that I assumed nobody was going to book me for anything, because that felt like the in crowd. I guess that's part of it. That felt like the inside thing of, like, the gatekeepers of, like, oh, you have to be let into this world of TV stuff, and they're all kind of pals and whatever. And like, in hindsight, they all hate each other, but they're all in and I'm out, and I've always been out.
Yes.
So I'll just do this. Worst case scenario, they let me in, I do the TV shows, and then I still have all this other stuff going on, which I think is a better way to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you do TV, then they have a whole pile of stuff to go watch and get obsessed with you and become your actual fan.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not going to wait for them to tell me it's okay to like build a thing. I'm going to go build it, and then if they let me in, then good.
But that's that drive you said, but that, you know, you said you almost denied having drive. And I'm not trying to, by the way, I'm not trying to catch you out.
No.
You were talking about yourself. It's not easy, but that is very driven, and there's a lot of self-belief that comes with that. Where can I ask you where that self-belief comes from?
I'm always sort of had this bull in a china shop. It was the same when I was doing music. I was like, fuck you, I can do it. Like, I can get into music college.
But where's the fuck you come from? Because there's like an instant it's like you're rebelling against something. I'm just proposing this.
Yeah.
You're rebelling against something that's actually not attacking you. And with the panic attacks and the anxiety attacks, it feels like you feel like you're. I'm suggesting perhaps like you feel like you're being attacked and
potentially. I should have said this earlier. When I have really severe panic attacks, I hallucinate, and the hallucinations are almost always a room full of people pointing at me and laughing and talking about me and like laughing at something that I don't know what they're laughing at.
Fucking hell! Right.
So the stand-up thing on a level is at least I know what they're laughing at.
Yeah. The control.
Tell you my least favorite thing is when I say a line that I don't think is funny and then they laugh.
It's fucking hell.
Because
I think you should do the autistic test live. I think it should be broadcast and we're all there ready.
Yeah. I need to know why they're laughing.
Right. So it's
otherwise they could be laughing at me and I don't want that because I've had that and I don't like it.
I've understood. Right. I totally understand.
But the drive thing's interesting. I guess the initial drive was like, I want to do this full time. I want to be a comedian.
And it was supported by because you're young, you're very young when you start. You're in your youth when you start and you start going to watch comedy and you're supported by your parents.
Yeah, my parents were brilliant. They're so supportive and they were supportive. I mean, I was going to be a freelance classical musician. It's hardly a step down in terms of career stability. It's a very similar, you're sort of chasing gigs, waiting for the phone to ring, this happens, that. Like it's... most people who I graduated with were doing a few gigs in the evenings and teaching music during the day, like teaching guitar, teaching drums, teaching whatever, to sort of keep the lights on, keep the bills going. When I graduated, I did some music gigs, but lots of stand-up gigs and teaching during the day. And then the stand-up took over and I was still teaching during the day.
Yeah.
And then that gradually faded out as I was earning money from stand-up. But even early in the open mics, I was just running my own open mics because I was like, again, it's just this logic thing of people would go around and do like 5 minutes 6 times a week and they're getting 30 minutes of stage time. And I was like, well, if I host my own open mic once a week, I'll be on stage for 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's like 5 nights in
that
one.
Logic of yours.
So I can just get more stage time faster.
Yes.
And then I can still do 2 gigs elsewhere.
Yes. I remember you asking me to do the night. The one in East London.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking the audacity.
That's insane.
To go
that's insane. Do a bad in the basement of a brew dog.
But could you just tell me about your area that you grew up in to give us a sense of? And I should have asked you earlier, really, but to give
nice and middle class and sort of suburban.
Do you feel like who you are is very, very much stems from the area that you grew up in, Belfast?
That I think Belfast informs, being from where I'm from, informs the type of comedy that I do, because I think growing up in Belfast and my parents, and I talk about this in the new show, were very proactive in making sure we didn't just grow up around Catholics, around one side of the community. So they pushed us to do extracurricular activities that were non-denominational, like weren't divided across the lines that everything's divided by in Belfast. So we played rugby, which is very Protestant. We were at Scouts, which is very Protestant. Basketball is Catholic, don't know why. And then music was very mixed. Classical music was very, very mixed. So we were sort of meeting Protestants and Catholics, and then you're always joking about these things. You're always joking about with the Protestants, making fun of the Protestants. You're getting made fun of for being a Catholic.
Yeah.
And that's the thing of Belfast, which is like, it's a lovely place now, and I've grew up in a very peaceful Belfast.
Yeah.
But there was something bubbling under the surface that makes the whole thing tick. And then I moved to London and started doing comedy. And I was like, well, the two things I can see that are bubbling under the surface, that in Belfast, we talk about whatever's bubbling under the surface. Add, like, to the point of boredom. Like, I think there's too many jokes about Catholics and Protestants now. And it became like everything that Northern Irish comedy was about, and became a bit of a sort of pastiche of that. But then in London, I was like, well, it's race and class. And I'm going to talk about those because that's what's bubbling under the surface. And that's what we do where I'm from.
That's amazing.
Is you talk about what's bubbling under the surface. And I think some English people go, because some English people really don't like talking about race or class.
English people, especially middle-class English people, I think there's so much goes unsaid. And that's not a particularly working-class thing.
No.
But a middle-class thing, there's, I would say, an attribute of being middle-class is many things going on.
We don't mention that. We don't mention that.
You have to second-guess what... So something's being said, and then you have to kind of think about almost like the gaps in the words and the...
Which is my least favourite in the whole world.
Of course.
Yeah, I can't...
Of course.
I can't figure out what people mean ever.
I don't. I think you need to... Anytime you spend time with someone from that background, you have to go home and study what was said.
Yeah.
Try and work it out.
2 weeks later, you're like, they were very mean to me.
Exactly. They said it was nice to see you, and I realise now that it wasn't nice to see me.
Fuck.
Oh, no. Yes, that's fascinating. You've taken that into your act.
Just getting to the fucking core of it. What's going on? What are we actually talking about here?
Yes.
Stop talking around the thing. Talk about the thing.
Yes. Well, that's fascinating. Well, look, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
I would ask, well, a couple of things, actually. I've said before you go, and I go, no, look, you're going to stay for a lot longer than you think.
That's fine. I have nowhere to be.
In terms of, and you're doing so well, and it's so wonderful to watch, and your stand-up's brilliant, and the podcast with Mike is fantastic as well. But is there a time that you think, if you look back at your life, that it seemed that you were furthest away from where you are now, that the idea that you would be this big touring comedian that's about to go and do House of Games and whatnot, that was very, very implausible at some point in your life?
Yeah, I feel like that 9-year-old who just couldn't leave the house. Couldn't leave the house and just crying, get so scared of everything. And it's like sort of unbelievable that I think that's why I'm sort of unabashedly like maybe proud of myself in a way that other people aren't, and maybe that I think it comes across badly to other people that I'm like arrogant or something. Because
it's not very English.
No, but I'm buzzing I've left the house every day. You know what I mean? Like that's an actual real achievement for me of like, I did it.
Yeah.
I went out into the world. And I still get it at the front door sometimes. I have to go like, right.
Wow.
And leave the house.
Well, we're all very happy that you did.
Oh, thank you.
And I would ask you that if anyone's watching and they could relate to that, being the outsider, being kind of isolated, finding it difficult to leave the house, would you have any words of advice for them that might perhaps just trigger something and inspire them to go on and get out there and perhaps dream of doing what you've done?
This is sort of old hat and sort of has been said a bunch of times now, but I do think that like this idea that like anxiety is on some level like arrogance in disguise. That
I've not heard that myself.
It's like nobody's thinking about you.
Right.
Like nobody is... And this was the difficult thing, and we've spoken about this, and this was like to fill people in very, very briefly. I had a sort of brief thing where I was like... spoken about by comedians in quite a negative way, sort of behind my back, quite fervently for sort of one Edinburgh Fringe. And that was difficult because my whole sort of training to get myself out of the anxiety was that it's irrational to think that everybody's talking about you.
Oh, God, no.
And irrational to think that...
This is awful.
It's this pointing and laughing and like covering it up.
Totally,
type things. Yeah. I was like, that's irrational. That's how I got myself out of that. Yeah. Same thing happened in the pandemic. My whole childhood was crowds of people aren't scary and going outside isn't scary. That was the work I was doing in therapy at 9 years old. And then the government went on TV and was like, oh, you were right, Vittorio. Going outside in crowds of people were scary the whole time.
Mark Hoppus, lead singer of Blink-182, who, I'm a big fan. He had the same thing. Those were his fears kind of came to.
Yeah, it was like medically
realised.
Yeah, my anxiety was medically sort of legitimized. But I think for the most part, even though I was like sort of proven wrong at one point, people aren't thinking about you. People are so wrapped up in their own shit. Life's really hard for everybody.
Yes.
And they're worried about their stuff. And just go out and get it wrong. Just get it wrong, and then be kind about it and be gracious when you do get it wrong, and go, oh, I'm really sorry about that, or whatever. Just like, they're not against you.
Yes.
You know, they're not against you.
I love that. Get it wrong. That's, I mean, that could be the
Is it Dan Harmon said that? Quote. Dan Harmon said that. He said, like, if you think you're a shit writer, prove it. Like, write a shit script.
Yeah.
But write it.
That's very good.
Prove it.
As I was going to say, you know, that could be the end of year book quote. But do you have another one?
I know my actual yearbook quote.
Oh, fantastic.
I remember my actual yearbook
wonderful.
quote. Yeah, I remember being torn between two things of what I wanted it to be, and I'm sort of glad. There was one that was very stupid, like joke one, and then one that was quite sincere.
Yeah.
And me being me, I went for the quite sincere one. The joke one was my yearbook quote was just going to be Colo, 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 Toure. Which I thought would be a real good bit of fun. But my actual yearbook quote was named after an album and a song by a musician called Cosmo Jarvis, who's now an actor, who's in Slow Horses and that, what's the one in Japan? Shogun. He's in Shogun.
Oh, okay.
He's like the white guy in Shogun.
Yeah.
So he was a brilliant musician that I was obsessed with for a very, very long time. And he has an album called Is the World Strange or Am I Strange?
Very nice.
And that was my yearbook quote.
Oh, I love that. Vittorio, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to catch Vittorio on tour. You can find a link to the tickets in the show description. And of course, don't forget, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know your favourite moments and who you'd like to see on the podcast next. We read every single comment, and your support means we can keep on doing this. You seem to love it. We love doing it. Let's grow the show. Let's make it bigger and better. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.